Start with you, Mr. Ravi Agarwal. In terms of the kind of changes that have been made to direct taxes, both in the new income tax regime as well as the changes that have been made for capital gains tax, what has been the thought process? Because there is a basket where you've lost something and then there's a basket where you've gained.
Yeah, so first I'll come to the tax slabs. So we had actually come up with this new tax regime, and the new tax slabs were introduced only with effect from April 24, and now further relaxations have been provided in the two slabs. Because earlier it was till 3 lakhs there was no tax, and then from 3 to 6 was 5%, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, 12 to 15, and 15 above. Now the first two slabs have been sort of changed, and now it is 3 to 7, 7 to 10, 10 to 12, and so on. As a result of that, suppose a person is having income of say 15 lakhs, the person stands to gain about 10,000 in terms of the new tax slabs that are being proposed in the budget. And in the context of salaried class, if you add standard deduction, then the benefit becomes all the more. Right. So
probably till about 8 lakh per annum you don't pay any taxes.
Yeah, so effectively 75,000 is the standard deduction. So 7 lakhs and 75,000. So all taken together for this thing, the tax rate is negligible. So this is as far as the tax slab is concerned, and of course this benefits all across. Because ultimately
those who are in the new tax regime, not for the old.
Yes, so those who are in the new tax regime, and let me share that people are adopting the new tax regime because it's beneficial to them. As much as about 65% of the people,
two-thirds of people,
of the people have already adopted this new tax regime, and that is cutting across all the boards. It's not you see simple taxpayers or in ITR 1, but all across. The taxpayers are adopting.
Is it also a signal that the old tax regime will pretty soon be a thing of the past?
Well, we are seeing, since there is a lot of traction, and so far as the new tax regime is concerned, and we are providing a lot of incentives in the sense that tax incentives and so on, even for the companies also who are adopting this new tax regime, the rate of tax is lesser. So therefore, there is a lot of traction, and we hope that going forward, once a substantial percentage of the people are onboarded, then we can see how we actually take care of the old one. Right. Because ultimately the philosophy of the government is that instead of reductions and exemptions, we should move ahead and make it simpler.
Right. And so staying with direct taxes, the short-term tax gain, the long-term tax gains, yes, those levels have also been changed. There is an exemption for the middle class up to 1.25 yes, lakh per year. Help us understand the manner in which the argument for the change in the tax slabs work. Yeah, so one, there was a requirement and there was ask from both from the taxpayer side as also from the government. You see, the government felt that the capital gains regime has to be made simpler. You see, earlier the capital gains regime had different parameters. So in the context of long-term capital gains, there was something like one parameter was holding period. So there was a holding period of 1 year for some assets, then there were 2 years for some assets, and 3 years some assets, which was basically difficult, you see, to keep to administer that. So now it is only 1 year and 2 years. 1 year is for the financial assets, and 2 years is for the non-financial assets. There is a very clear distinction between the two. The second is the rate of the tax. So long-term capital gains, it's 12.5 all across the board. And other than that, for short term, of course, it is 15 to 20 that has been increased, but otherwise, you see, it's a normal rate of tax. So the tax structure that way has also been simplified. The third was indexation. Now, indexation was also one factor for non-financial assets. This was basically indexation was yet one more factor, so which has been done away with. But instead of 20%, the tax rate has been brought down to 12.5%. Right, which is a substantial benefit that one gets. So the idea is that we make it simple for the taxpayer to actually comply. Now there could be some concerns that with doing away with indexation, maybe some taxpayers may feel that they are being put to a
disadvantage, but that is
I
not
think
the
it
case.
was the real estate sector that took the
Yes, so
biggest
the-
hit in the markets today.
Exactly. So therefore, I have some examples which I can actually bring forth. So suppose a property was purchased in 2014, right? And we have held this property for 10 years, let's say, right? Now, if you go for this indexation, it would provide 1.5 times, it would scale up the value of the property for which it was acquired. So suppose it is about 1 lakh. So by virtue of indexation, it would be 1.5 lakhs. And then of course you reduce it by the sale consideration to arrive at the capital gains. Now if you calculate the tax, you see, in context of from old regime and the new regime, what one finds is that if in these 10 years the property rate has gone by 3 times, right? If it has gone more than 3 times, the new tax regime is helpful. The rate of the tax liability is lesser as compared to the old tax. The reason being that the index cost is much lower. You see, but actually the property rates have gone up. In these 10 years, the property rate would not be 3 times. It will be more than that.
Yes.
That's a practical thing. So therefore, when you see it from the practical point of view, this the taxpayers stand to gain.
But
Then
there are
apart
other
from
people who
that-
are saying that this is like inheritance tax through the back door. Is that a complete misconception?
No, there's nothing of that sort, because ultimately 2001, the fair market
That's a
value of the
cutoff.
property, that's a cutoff. And then the indexation would start from there. So that cutoff is already available. The other is that the rollover is also available. So if you have actually disposed of a property and you want to purchase a new property, that provision still remains.